ban once again. And it looks like TSM may have the same ban lineup. Cassiopeia switching it up, so you won't be seeing Reggie on that in mid. So we got the same bans. Same bans from TSM. We'll see what Curse uses their last ban on. Lee Sin, possibly the Urgot. You don't know?
Probably not an Urgot. I mean, I could definitely see a Lee Sin or an Udyr. I'm kind of surprised by the Cassiopeia ban, to be honest, because Galio, definitely makes sense. He provides such great control. Cassiopeia is one of the strongest champions in the game. There it is, an Udyr ban. But Cassiopeia, I guess the concern is that, Vygar was never really able to get going against Cassiopeia, though I don't know that really has to do with Cassiopeia as a champion so much as just how the game kind of proceeded. But getting rid of that ban there, now Reginald's going to have another strong AP mid. Getting that Rise can build that mana and those defensive items, just be incredibly tanky early in the game. You definitely can't go a champion like Vygar against a champion like Rise. Yep. So it'll be interesting to see what Curse is going to be running instead. Rise
does scale off mana. He scales a little bit off AP, but mostly off of mana. So Nijaki, if he decides to play Vygar again, Vygar's ultimate does also scale a little bit extra on enemy AP, but it makes him a little bit less effective. So we're giving Curse a reason to not pick Vygar. So we have to think a little bit, see what other AP mids could we possibly see? They could still go Vygar. Nothing saying they can't, but
I mean, it would have to be a really unique comp that TSM's running for them to go Vygar. There's really very low odds of it happening. I kind of expect we'll see a Lee Sin and a Janna pickup here, or a Kog, actually. Lee Sin and Kog would definitely be strong pickups, because Lee Sin has that versatility, and then keeping Kog away, actually neither of them. So Vladimir and Leona, so that's definitely an interesting matchup. Vladimir picking it kind of early for the top lane. Can do very well against a number of champions, but there are a couple that can get in that early harass against Vladimir. It'll be interesting to see, but again, Vladimir has that great late game scaling, and then Leona just going to be a terrifying bot lane for them to deal with.
Olaf is open, Kog'Maw's open. We may be seeing that, and Lee Sin still up for grabs. We could see TSM, we could see Dyrus top lane Lee Sin once again. I don't know, they're thinking about it, but also we've been seeing a lot of AP Cogs as well. We may see a little bit of a switcheroo. We may see like Rise top, Cog mid, something crazy coming from them. But Soraka,
I'm kind of curious. I'm kind of curious what Curse is kind of thinking with their strategy. We'll see shortly, but by allowing the Rise Cog combo, they did also allow the Lee Sin pickup by Xpecial if he wanted to pass it over to Dyrus. But Rise and Cog, Rise is that tanky front line, Cog is that late game scaling. So right now, Vladimir, obviously he can't get in on Kog'Maw. As long as Cog keeps his distance, it should be kind of difficult for Leona as well, though Leona does have the ultimate for some engagement. But I don't know, I was kind of thinking you don't want to allow Chaos that fantastic late game carry when you've already got a tanky front line. And they are going to get Lee Sin as well if they want to take it. It's kind of interesting. Lee Sin against Vladimir, they probably won't pick it anymore because Vladimir is a pretty favorable matchup up there. He does have the range advantage. Lee Sin can still be extremely aggressive, though. We've seen Voyboy in particular running Lee Sin against ranged champions like Kennen, which should normally be a favorable matchup for Lee Sin, but able to shield onto the creeps, get the slow in, get in some harass. So I don't know, it'll be interesting to see, but Vladimir, because of how he scales through the game, he's going to be a little bit too strong. I'll be curious to see whether or not they pick that.
I'm expecting, I was thinking Olaf, that true damage does immensely well against Vladimir, but we still have an option open for Curse. They could also decide to run Vlad mid if they so desire.
And this whole champ select, TSM has been moving towards... Wow, so there you go. This TSM has been moving towards this really tanky melee frontline comp. They have this comp where everyone can just sit up front, know they're not going to die because they have Soraka to back them up, and then have that late game presence from Kog'Maw. And it was kind of picked from the very beginning. Curse had to have known that they're running that comp. So as a result, Curse is kind of trying to maybe bait them into what they think is a more powerful comp. They can get those ganks in from Nocturne. He can get into Kog'Maw. Kog'Maw doesn't have that escapability, so it'll be interesting to see whether they can peel off. Rise is really the only person that can very effectively peel off, though we do have slows from Mundo and Olaf. And then having Karthus versus that melee comp, not only is Karthus going to have that burst damage to be able to take down a champion like Kog'Maw, help them get in that back line. But he's also just going to be throwing down that AoE damage for those melee DPSers. And also, if you expect that the whole team is going to get low, if you're expecting low team fights, maybe Curse can pick up a couple of kills early in the game from that.
So we also have Karthus, we have Soraka. They kind of counteract each other just a little bit. Soraka has the global heal, Karthus has the global nuke, so it does balance out just a tad. But it does look that they are going for a little bit more of a sustaining bottom lane. Kog'Maw wants to stay alive a little bit longer. Soraka's going to be there to help top him off whenever he needs to. But Olaf on Dyrus going up against Vladimir. I think Vladimir's going to have a rough time ahead.
Yeah, it's definitely a pretty strong lane matchup. Olaf, like you said, with his true damage, can get a lot of burst. Vladimir does have a lot of inherent HP, so that kind of works well against true damage, as opposed to champions, any number of champions that scale off of armor and magic resist. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see as the game progresses. I would tend to think that Vladimir would have enough sustain in that lane, but Olaf just has so much damage. He's so tanky. A lot of times you'll see Vladimir get to the point where you expect Vladimir to win a lane just because he's got the Hex Tech, he's level 9, but at the same time, Olaf's just running at him right underneath the tower, just picking up kills under the tower, and Vlad's like, well, what the heck, what's going on here? So
all that true damage, just once you get to a certain point,
it's the spammability as well.
It's the spammability. Olaf is go ahead and keep spamming Vladimir down to beat out the sustain that he has. And about what level is it around? I can't quite remember. It's like level 8, like Olaf starts to get the advantage on Vladimir just a little bit more.
Olaf's going to have the advantage from level 1. I mean, Vladimir is definitely a weak champion early. He has the range advantage over Olaf, but Olaf, if he can hit those undertows, can just run right up to Vlad, pick up that true damage burst, and then he's going to have enough sustain that he can shut down Vlad. The question is if Vlad can maybe pick up early farm, pick up an early advantage. What happens to the lane as it transitions and Vladimir gets that regen with the Hex Tech? And at that point in time, Vlad wins as far as sustain in the lane, but Olaf still has some of the highest sustain in the lane with his W, and then he's got tons of burst damage. So it's going to be very hard for Vladimir to just safely farm in that lane.
So then also bot lane, we do have Leona Corki. So Leona's going to be there running the point, has the stuns, setting up everything for Corki to get all the burst damage he needs. And there's going to be a huge benefit in team fights later on. You're going to have Nocturne coming in with the global. You got Karthus. You get a stun, Karthus can just wander in with his little AoE, get some Skittles down, and they're not going to be able to do a whole lot about it. But remember, we have to get to the team fight phase first in order for something like that to happen. So we will see if anyone decides to take the lead a little bit early. But we haven't remade the game everyone's picked, so we should be getting in just a little bit. But I don't know. I'm thinking TSM. I think TSM might 2-0 this. I don't know.
You're just trying to play to the crowd. You're trying to, everyone just be like, yeah, go TSM. And it works.
But
I admit it works. TSM is either TSM. Who doesn't love them?
Just pay no mind to the man with the Bay Life bracelet here.
Yeah, there we go. But we'll have to see. I mean, Corki Leona, that's such an aggressive bottom lane. Kog'Maw, he has the range advantage. Once he gets level 6 in particular, he can farm from a safe range. Soraka will keep him topped off, but if they can bait out the Soraka heal, the Soraka is going to give him armor. If they can bait it out onto Corki maybe, and then transition over to Soraka, they can maybe pick up some kills, because Soraka is actually very vulnerable in lane. It's very easy to track her down, and then once Nocturne hits level 6, we might start seeing some tower dives bottom where they just, go all out. They have the disables coupled Leona with Nocturne. They have the backup from Karthus in that mid lane where he can wear them down. They all get kind of low. And then all of a sudden we've got basically a 4-man gank bottom even though Karthus isn't involved. And that'll be something that TSM has to watch out for, whether or not they have to, have that good ward coverage. But Nocturne, he can gank despite ward coverage. He's got that ability to, just hop in. So he can take some kind of eccentric ganking paths. It'll be very difficult for TSM. But if they can get past that point, then they definitely have an uber tanky team. They have the late game physical damage. It'll be interesting to watch.
And we also, once again, have this fight. We have the fast jungler and the slow jungler. And Mundo's not too slow.
They're both fast. They're
both
the two of the fastest junglers in the game.
But Nocturne, I think, has a little bit of an edge, though, because I think he has a little bit
Well, actually,
once
Mundo
we get
has
6.
the edge. Mundo is actually the fastest jungler in the game,
I
along
corrected.
with Shyvana.
I stand corrected then.
But
I need to jungle.
Nocturne definitely has the ganking advantage, so there's no question there. Nocturne, but if Mundo is able to hit the cleave, then he can chase people down, and you pair the cleave with Ryze's snare. Karthus is a very vulnerable mid lane. Karthus has the wall to prevent Mundo from coming in, but if Ryze is able to get the snare, then they can just tower dive Karthus. They do have that potential, but the concern is always Nocturne is always going to be in any fight. If they start tower diving, if TSM starts being aggressive, Nocturne jumps in, all of a sudden picks up a couple of kills.
But you know what? Game is loading up. You guys ready? Let's go right to it.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see this matchup. We do have 2 top teams here, TSM and Curse. They've fought each other a number of times, and we get to see this beautiful versus screen. It is fantastic.
And the pillow.
There is Curse in the purple, and so TSM with the blue, and as always, that Dyrus pillow. But we'll have to see. Curse does have the jersey advantage, though.
They do. They do have. They get some very. Those are some nice jerseys. I like those. I like those a lot. I've been kind of like digging around. I kind of want a Curse jersey. I kind of want a Dignitas hoodie. I kind of want like a little bit of something. I don't know. We'll see. I might have to buy a Dignitas hoodie on my own. Someone uses. I don't know. We'll have to find out. But game is loading up. We should be ready in just a moment. But I don't know. Mundo Nocturne. It could go either way.
Yeah, I mean, Mundo, he's a very fast champion, but he, isn't going with a Ghost. He isn't going with a Flash. He's going with an Exhaust. So the Exhaust is going to provide them a little bit more ganking potential, and then also a little bit more jungling potential. He can just be really aggressive against Nocturne, pick up those kills, and Nocturne really can't deal with it. So it'll be interesting to watch. But at the same time, if they are able to catch him with a Fear, catch him with a Slow from Karthus, they can just chase him down.
So we got pings going down already from Curse into the river by Dragon. I think they may just try and decide to defend a potential invade. We don't want any snafus like we had last time.
Yeah, neither team in particular has a spectacular level 1. Curse definitely has more sustained damage with those Karthus Qs. They can poke that out, but at the same time, we've got cleaves from Mundo. So really, both teams know they're not going to pick anyone off. They just want to kind of continue with their regular jungle. Just allow their carries to kind of get farmed. Nocturne wants to get this blue so he can jungle up to speed with Mundo. And it'll be interesting to watch. I'm kind of curious whether or not Karthus will try and push aggressively in this mid lane. Karthus has the range advantage over Ryze and actually can slow Ryze as well before Ryze can get in range to snare. So if Karthus decides to try and push Ryze into the tower, Ryze will have a little bit more difficulty. But at the same time, Ryze can farm extremely well once he gets a little bit of mana, spam those abilities. It'll probably just turn into a free farm lane until we start seeing the jungle presence. And so that's really key. I think bot is our aggression lane. And then once level 6, we'll probably see kind of a passive game until we hit level 6 with Nocturne. And it'll be interesting to see if Mundo is trying with any early counter jungling.
I also want to take a quick note. I just want to take a look at elements for a second. Playing Leona with the best skin.
Iron Solari jumping up in the crowd. He's just like, boom, take that. The best skin.
So we got the CV going down around Curse's blue buff. They do have an idea where Crumbs is at the moment. Mundo going to go ahead and take the red buff in their own jungle. So he will be a little bit of a threat with that red very early on. So we may see level 2 gank. I need to go ahead and wander right back over. Blue buff going to Reginald straight away, but he took quite a chunk though from that golem.
Yeah, I mean, he is kind of low here, but he will be able to use those health pots to get back up in lane. And it's really interesting starting to see these buffs being passed to the solo lanes. And actually, we see Dyrus chasing down Pobelter up top, going to get in some nice damage there. There's the little axe throw. But giving Reginald this blue buff, he can spam a little bit against Karthus. And Odd One coming in
around the Crumbs. Red buff, he hasn't decided to finish yet, but Crumbs,
he's
in a bit of a precarious situation. Odd One decides to go in on Crumbs while he's still in the pit. He has to flash away. He's still exhausted and stealing the red buff out from under his nose.
Yeah, so that's going to be huge if he can set Crumbs behind, and that's really what Mundo brings to the table. He's one of the best duelists in the game and one of the fastest junglers, so he can just be really aggressive, go after that red. I wasn't sure if he was going to have time because he started off with the Wraiths down here, but was able to get in range, and the rest of the lanes doing pretty well for TSM, but that early jungle advantage is definitely huge, since Curse's aggression is primarily going to come from Nocturne hitting 6.
So while we have a little bit of lull in the action, I've just been updated that CLG has won Game 1 between themselves and Dignitas, so it's good for them. We're heading on into the next round very shortly, but we do have TSM and Curse right here at the moment. Odd One wandering down, going to be stealing some raids. And Cop and Elements are doing a pretty good job down bottom, shoving the lane. TSM they're playing, once again, defensive, a little bit on the bot lane.
Yeah, and I just love this play from Odd One. Once again, stalling Nocturne from hitting that 6. Just, spending all that time in that top lane. And that's definitely going to work out for them. And then, Olaf, he started off down a little bit mana, trying to get that blue buff for Ryze. He burned a lot of his mana, so we saw some aggression against Vlad, and we saw he definitely had an advantage, but not nearly as much as if he was full mana. So now Olaf, knowing he's going to push, he's able to pick up that ward to protect himself against Nocturne, and he has that full mana, and actually getting a mana pot. So he's going to be able to just constantly spam against Pobelter and see if he can get some great harass off that way.
Pobelter does have a little bit of an XP lead over Dyrus though, but we'll see how that translates as we go later on into the game. Dyrus definitely has the damage to take out Pobelter, or at least shove him back to tower if need be. But we just Crumbs once again wandering his own jungle, and Odd One is there stealing his stuff, and there's not a whole lot Crumbs can do about it.
Yeah, and that's good ward coverage by Curse, recognizing that Moon is going to be coming in there. Kind of hopping all around, because I'm curious. All these lanes have a lot of burst potential. There's Elements jumping on Chaos. A lot of damage going off. They actually used the Ignite, so he's going to have to back off. But the sustain that Soraka has should be able to get him back up as long as he doesn't run into Elements. So he's coming in right again. There's the exhaust, and Elements chasing him down. Gets the pull underneath the tower, but the Flash, he's going to back off there. And Chaos now chasing him down, so they're very close to getting that kill. In the meantime, Dyrus doing pretty well top, but Chaos almost able to turn that around. And then some, just aggression from TSM all through these lanes. Reginald pushing right up onto Karthus, spamming underneath the tower.
So health pots being chugged by Cop and Elements, trying to stay in lane just a little while longer. And they don't really have much left after that. They're both on their last potion, so if they get chunked out again, they will have no choice but to back to town. Reginald, Odd One pushing up in the mid. Nightjackie doing what he can to farm with those skills onto those minions, and once again, Odd One at the Wraith camp, stealing stuff. There's not, like I said, there's not a whole lot Crumbs can do about it. Odd One can just go ahead and do that all day long.
Yeah, now that Nightjackie's a little bit out of mana, he will be getting, blue buff in about a minute, but we see Reginald just able to continue that control in that mid lane and see if he can, slow down Karthus' farm a little bit. But we do see there's the ward from Pobelter, but Odd One is already up and about, not going to be able to get in range in time. So Pobelter will be pretty safe in this top lane since Dyrus is a bit low, didn't go back in that last exchange.
Top lane is warded by both teams. Pobelter saw Odd One trying to make his way up. He's like, you know what? No, I know you're there. Nothing's going to happen. You might just want to back off there. But now that TSM has the advantage bot lane, they're using it as much as they can. They're just going to go ahead and push to tower at the next opportunity, because they have no more health potions.
Oh, but Pobelter in that top lane throws off the ultimate, throws off the ignite. There's the Karthus ultimate coming as well, and the first blood going to Curse. Dyrus going down. He had been doing so well in that top lane, but Pobelter hit 6 before Dyrus did because he's pushing, and so was able to get that aggressive kill along with Karthus' help.
Requiem coming down just for a little bit of insurance, just in case that ult wasn't enough to finish the job. But Dyrus dying at top lane, and we'll have to get back as soon as he can. Exhaust and Ghost are burned for him as well, so he's going to be a little bit of a disadvantage for the next few minutes as well, right when he comes back up there. But Odd One taking the blue now. It's not just the race; he's taking blue as well. This is counter jungling so
yeah, and that's huge. Keeping that blue off of Karthus. Karthus has to spam. Generally, his mana okay. Nightjackie's definitely going to want to get a couple of mana items. Is working on that catalyst because he knows that TSM is going to be extremely aggressive, not allow that blue, and then Ryze going to be able to take this. We saw Dyrus checking for a second to make sure that Curse wasn't hopping down there to steal their blue in retaliation. But Ryze, again, is just going to be able to continue that advantage. And now Ryze has that spam ability where Karthus needs to watch out. There's definitely the potential for the kill there.
Karthus working, I believe, towards the catalyst. We might see a Rod of Ages coming in from him later. Tier being bought by Rise, very mana-dependent champion that's going to help boost his abilities as well. Looks like Crumbs will finally get a buff of his own, getting red buff for him there, yes. And then Chaos Special once again being pushed to tower now that Cop and Elements have had a little bit of a time to go ahead, back, and buy.
But here's the concern. Olaf definitely has that burst damage. There is always that threat that he can just chase down, Vladimir, pick up the kill with that spam ability, with those axes. But Vladimir is definitely at a little bit of sustain advantage at this point because he was able to get that early kill. So that kind of a matchup, whether or not Vlad can sustain against Olaf, getting that ranged harass versus Olaf's just, kill potential is always going to be interesting because Vladimir started off with that early advantage, able to pick up the kill there. It might, push the lane in his favor.
Belter, Dyrus still going at it, and looks like Reginald's being a little bit aggressive on Nightjackie, just getting those Qs in whenever he can. Just show him who's boss, get a little bit of damage on him, and Reginald does have blue buff while Nightjackie does not. So he's going to be a little bit more sustaining in the mid, and the minion wave will be pushing to him, so he'll just have to go ahead and farm at power as well. Nightjackie will decide to go and back. Yeah, he's got enough for his catalyst, I believe, and a little bit of something, but he's actually going to get the blasting one first, just for a little bit extra AP, a little bit extra damage to bring back with him in the mid.
Now, I'm kind of surprised that we didn't see Nocturne coming down bottom for a second here because it was kind of that sweet spot, Elements hitting level 6. Soraka, especially, he wasn't level 6 yet, and so they almost could have had that tower dive gank that we were talking about, just a really aggressive gank down there. Odd One, once again, just not letting up, just completely unrelenting pressure on Nocturne. But now, Especial level 6, they can avoid some of that burst potential, and then Cog should be able to farm with the range that he has. So it'll primarily turn into a free farm lane, but we are seeing Nocturne coming down here. He is going to be in range, sees the pink ward, dropping it down for Dragon, and knows that there's no vision there. So actually no vision for TSM, so we'll see whether or not they dive this. That's always the threat when you have the Leona Nocturne combo.
Crumbs has the ability to sneak down around into the bush, but he's just going to go ahead, decide to get the rest of his team, and I think Curse is going to go ahead here, engage on this Dragon, see if they can get the first one of the game. And right now, it seems that TSM is really none the wiser.
Yeah, I mean, they had the pink ward. They don't have great ward coverage from TSM. They have a strong Dragon team. If Karthus comes down, he's actually just going to sit mid and, keep Reggie at bay. But a quick Dragon for Curse, and so now they've got a little over 1,000 gold advantage. And Odd One, once again, stealing all those wraiths. All your wraiths are belong to me. Just not allowing, Nocturne to get in there. But yeah, so definitely some fantastic counterplay there.
I wish I came up with that one. Damn. Damn. Anyway, Pobelter, Dyrus once again is so Dyrus. We got a little bit of something. We got 2 null magic mantles on him to help mitigate some of the damage Pobelter is dishing out. We also got the Fan Center, but Nocturne coming in onto Chaos. He's stuck in a Tribush. Requiem coming down as well. We got the stun. We got everything going down. He's got nowhere to go.
Wow, and so there you saw, even with the flash in, even though Elements was just barely out of range to get the pull, they just have so much burst potential. Soraka can't account for it. Kog'Maw doesn't have that great survivability that a champion like Corki or Ezreal would. And so they're able to just combo their stuns, get that damage out there. And Dyrus and Pobelter just exchanging here. Pobelter might actually chase Dyrus down. There's the ultimate and the ignite. So he's chasing. We have the exhaust going off on the Dyrus, but he's very close to going down, just barely surviving in that top lane. Karthus' ultimate just down from a second ago, able to pick up that kill bottom, but Pobelter really, wielding his might in that top lane.
I was about to say Karthus was like, oh no, wait, no, he used it.
Oh, right, yeah. So, but pretty good game so far for Curse, even though we do have a very aggressive team from TSM. And Curse, they definitely have, with the dual AP, they have great late game scaling. The concern is that all these tanky champs are generally a pretty strong counter to AP. If you can survive through the burst damage, then you do pretty well. AD, physical damage, that's generally what you want to run against really tanky champs like Mundo, like Rise. So that'll be an interesting dynamic as the game progresses.
So 12 minutes in, we got about 2K gold lead in favor of Curse. Nightjackie being pushed to tower, but right now it looks like bottom lane is also equalized just a little bit in the push, but it looks like TSM will go ahead, clear the wave, push them to tower as well. Blue buff being passed on to Nightjackie. He'll take that back with him to the mid. But it looks like Odd One and Reginald are being a little bit aggressive. I think they're trying to go in to steal the blue as well, but they decided, we'll back off. We can just push tower instead because Karthus isn't here. so it gets free damage on that tower, and then they'll back off once that wave's gone.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely nice to be able to get that early advantage. Until Cog really gets farmed, they don't have the best early game presence pushing towers, so anything that you can take gives them some great map control. And then as the game progresses, once Cog gets farmed, they can definitely just use that range damage from Cog, slowly wear down the towers. And we got the slow cap. This is the golf clap. We have the Masters going on currently, so just a little bit of a oh, that was some fantastic play by TSM there.
Good tower, yes. Good tower indeed.
But once again, Pobelter just has so much sustained damage for Dyrus to deal with right now, and actually able to just burst him down, push him out of lane. So it'll be interesting to see how Dyrus gets in this game. Dyrus, Olaf is definitely a fantastic late game champion, but once Pobelter was able to get that early advantage, able to get that Hex Tech, just completely taking control of that lane.
Pings going down from Curse. They know there's a ward in the bush bot lane. Nijaki returns to mid with the blue buff, trying to equalize the creep. So right now it's 112.
Oh, but actually Element's jumping in on Kog'Maw, and Nocturne coming down as well. So the quick burst is going down, and they are able to get that kill. Soraka is safe under that bottom lane, but
quick engagements. And Crumb's maybe behind when it comes to all of his jungle camps, Mundo being in there and taking all of them. But when it comes to kills, assists, Mundo, Oddwa not really being the biggest team player, triple zeros. But Crumb's 101, he's made up for a little bit of what he's lost. So if they keep getting caught, if Nocturne's still getting kills, the counter jungling all of a sudden comes for naught, really.
Yeah, and the concern is going to be, I mean, Mundo's done his job, basically. They haven't been able to take that early game advantage that Curse has done. We see, taking down that bottom tower, they've been able to get the dragons. Ooh. So, an early advantage, but actually Reginald, and they're baiting in Pobelter. Pobelter coming in on Dyrus once again, but he's going to drop really quickly. Dyrus just not taking enough damage, and there's the bait, so there's the kill. TSM knowing that Pobelter is like, Pobelter's sitting on top. He's like, yeah, I'm a man here. I got this lane. So Reginald and Dyrus just baiting him in perfectly.
Yep. It's like, nah, there's no way Ryze is in that bush. There's not. Oh, damn. Crap. Oh well. But we got Olaf now buying himself a Hex Drinker. We've seen Hex Drinkers save some butts earlier on today, and Maw, I think, fantastic item to build up to as well. This is definitely the team to build it against. We have a lot of magic damage coming in from Karthus, from Vlad. It's definitely going to be a useful item once we build that later on.
Yeah, it will give them that survivability, and that's the big thing. They have so much survivability against the AoE AP damage that this magic damage that Curse has. And so with the Soraka, once Mundo and Olaf get in these fights, if they get tanky enough, they might just become unkillable for Curse. Vlad does have nice sustained damage, though. They do have the AoE from Karthus, so the mid-game team fights are definitely going to be advantage Curse with their burst. But if TSM is able to get any sort of advantage, keep up with farm as the game progresses, there's going to be a point where we just don't have a means of dealing with all this tanking pressure and dealing with Cog, dealing damage in that back line.
Odd One is being pinged out by Curse, trying to retreat where he can. He gets walled, he gets slowed, he has to pop the ult to get away. A little bit extra health regen, a little bit extra movement speed, and Curse will decide to not follow up on that. But top lane, Reggie and Dyrus pushing down top tower. That should be falling momentarily as well, but Dragon is up as well, and Curse will go ahead and decide to take that. So we're trading tower for Dragon. Dyrus will take down that tower in just a second. One more, yes, and Dragon should be going down pretty quick for Curse.
Yeah, and so another aggressive Dragon going to Curse. Pobelter coming in here. He doesn't know that Reginald's back there. Isn't going to chase Dyrus again, so, learning his lesson from last time. But we have Elements coming in, maybe going to engage on Odd One.
Nope.
Odd One a little bit too tanky. It'd be kind of a tough fight for them. So just going to back off, let Corki farm bottom, and we'll see whether or not we have this fight
kind of in
top.
a tricky spot right here. Gets caught out by the Axe True Damage, forcing the pool. Let it go in. Reginald flashes in with the stun. Will he be able to get it? No, and Crumbs comes in. The Q finishes the job, but Crumbs is still in pursuit. You got the Requiem coming in. Will Reginald live? Yes, he will, but Crumbs is still around. Elements now comes in. Will he be able to finish Reginald? I'm not sure he will. Yes, the burst does get him in the bush, and now Dyrus has to get away real quick. They will not decide to follow up on that, but 1 for 1, Crumbs barely getting away from that.
Yeah, and so really fantastic play by Reginald, almost able to pick up that second kill. I felt like, Dyrus could have been a little bit more up front, run in there. The issue is he didn't want to be kited under the tower, take that tower damage, maybe turn around. He was pretty low, but almost picking up Nocturne, just barely not able to do it. So an even exchange there.
Rise has bought himself a Banshee's Veil, so you know what? We're going to see if we can't... I don't want that to happen again. I want that spell shield. I want to be protected just a little bit more. He's going to get some extra mana from that too, which means extra damage for him, so that's going to be nice. But right now, we still also have... Curse still has a good solid, 2.5K in gold. That's pretty good.
It's interesting, though, because TSM, they've been growing together as a team so much. They have great coordination, but one of their weaknesses has always been communication. They talk about that, and you saw that last fight. There was kind of a miscommunication between Dyrus and Reginald. Didn't recognize, hey, Reginald's got his flash up. Reginald is going to be jumping in for the kill. So we saw Dyrus turn around while Reginald went in. Whereas, if they had both gone in together, a little more aware, they're able to pick up that kill. But Dyrus is a little bit cut off. He should be able to get out, though.
It's doesn't know where to go, but Pobelter there just to get a few little bits of damage there while he runs away. Now Elements sweeping Baron area for wards, just making sure it's clean, and it is. So we may have something happen around Baron very soon for Curse, actually.
Wow, and now with this tanky front line, Mundo knows he doesn't really need to be as aggressive of an anti-carry as the game progresses, so getting that red buff onto Kog'Maw, that does give them fantastic range damage, the ability to chase people down, and that's one of the things they're kind of lacking is hard CC, so they really need to just combo their slows, all of them with their slows. They have the CC from Reginald, but that slow will allow Kog to kite a little bit more. We'll see some fantastic play from Chaos probably coming into this mid portion of the game.
Curse now pushing down mid tower with as much as they can. Pobelter doing some damage to top tower as well, while Dyrus just kind of running around the one axe taking out the entire minion wave. Nice timing, nice aim on that. Getting huge tower shots onto Vladimir. But we have all these wards up by Baron. I think Curse may actually be trying to force this.
Yeah, I think they're going after the blue, trying to see if they can keep it off of Reginald. It isn't that big of a deal right now. Maybe even keep it off Kog'Maw. I don't know if they're going to give it to Reginald or Kog'Maw, but they are able to pick it up just barely. It's actually resetting, so we actually had the steal, or
we got the
yes,
steal.
We did have the smite steal from actually Nijackie with the Q steal. So he was able to pick that up. That's definitely going to help him out through this mid portion of the game. I was a little bit surprised by that, but now, we do have Curse jumping in here. Oh, wow, the ultimate almost went up. Nocturne coming in.
Crumbs is going in on Reginald here, and he will be able to take him down. Nijackie's in the back, taking quite a bit of damage. Odd one up front. He's got the fire. He's going to be able to finish the job just a little bit, and now Elements trying to get away. He is cleavered. He is slowed, but Crumbs also trying to get away. Flashes over the wall just in time. Dyrus will not be able to connect with that, but 1 for 1 once again.
Yeah, so, definitely... I don't know, kind of a misstep. Curse wasn't able to get all of their, effects out. They wanted to get that kill. If they had waited for the Nocturne ult first, maybe they could have gotten a little bit easier engaged from Leona. If they had hit that Leona ultimate, then very quickly they're winning that fight. And we'll see where they go from there, because they have a lot of Baron presence. And if they can win any sort of engage early, Vladimir coupled with Karthus is actually going to be an extremely fast Baron team. So, we'll see whether or not that factors into things. If Curse can just pick up a kill, there's always that potential. But then TSM has the same exact threat. We have, the damage that Kog'Maw has, that Chaos has, and actually Chaos going with the Phantom Dancer and pure Doran's build. I just realized that. So he actually doesn't have a lot of damage, but has great mobility, and he has the inherent damage that Kog'Maw has, just one of the highest damage champions in the game. So not needing to build those fast items, just knows he needs to keep his distance from the enemy team.
So Vladimir will soon be buying that death cap. How much gold we got? We also get about 1,000 gold. Should be buying that. Olaf, we have just got the Maw, so we're gonna have a pretty big spell shield on him. A little bit extra damage as well. Elements, once again, with that Oracles, clearing for wards wherever we can. Good job on him, and KX alone in the bot trying to defend the push. But Odd One also has Oracles for himself as well. But we did have all these wards that were actually around
they're on the
Baron.
hunt bot, not able to get in range.
Yeah. As I was saying, Odd One does have the Oracles. They did realize, they did see a lot of wards going down around their blue area. They want to get that clear. They want to make sure that they're eliminating as much vision from Curse as they can. Ward get going down from Pobelter into the Baron pit, but Odd One is there to clean it up, but not without taking a free hit or two.
Yeah, but I mean, with his passive, not really a concern. He's just going to regen fine, and so that having that map control will, definitely help them out a lot. We do see pretty good ward coverage for TSM if they can clear out a couple more of the cursed wards, particularly around the Baron area, because they know that's where the fights, are going to be happening at this point in the game. Both teams have a strong Baron presence. We do have the threat of a dragon as well, but that would probably lead to the other team going for it. And there's actually a wall, so they are going to be able to zone them off for this tower mid. Mundo coming in from the river, but Curse able to just safely get out of there.
It's odd one. He's coming around, but he decides to clear the ward instead of getting the engage. But Dragon is up. We could be seeing a next battle for objective momentarily. Blue buff being taken by Curse, their own blue buff. Hopefully doesn't get stolen from here. Nope, it will not be. But like I said, Dragon is up. We may be seeing that fight momentarily. We got the ward down from Odd One, making sure clearing the ward in the bush. Curse is in position. They want to take out that ward as well. Odd One is out in front of the wall, trying to, he's taking the brunt. Dyrus getting chunked out by the missiles.
Oh,
We
Odd
got
One's
the ult,
going all
we got
in.
the initiation, goes straight for Nijaki. Nocturne comes in with the ult, but Nijaki's in the thick of it. Chaos, will he be able to follow it? But Nijaki goes down first. We got Kog'Maw going down as well, but here comes Requiem. How many people will be able to clean up? Manages to get the kill. All going down. Leona going down. Pobelter very close. Oddwood, how are you still alive? There we go. Cop Crumbs now pursuing a special. Very low. 150 health. Can we get the missile? We got the heal. Can we finish him off? Valkyrie, can we get something flashing away? Cop in pursuit. Crumbs, can you finish it off? Very low. 100 health. No!
He ran out of missiles. No, he's got 3 left. Oh no, he did run out of missiles. It's the first number. So running out of missiles, Cop, the fight just lasted too long, wasn't able to pick up the kill.
Nah.
But that's kind of what you saw. TSM, they don't have a very strong engaging team. They don't have a great means of forcing a fight, and so they need to pressure these objectives. They can't allow Curse to just take them. But Curse, they, all of the means of engaging and disengaging are really on Curse's side. So Curse able to decide when they want to go in on a fight. We saw Reginald chasing Cop off to the side here, but Cop was able to use the wall to his advantage and just juke Reginald out. So now Reginald split from the team for a second. Cop was able to live, and Curse able to win that fight, and then Nocturne coming down for this Dragon.
I think that was a fantastic team fight for Curse. They couldn't get that Soraka kill. They got their pie, but they didn't quite get the ice cream. But you know what? 4 kills plus Dragon is pretty good. But right now, Baron, TSM just going straight for it. It is warded. They'll take out that ward. But Curse is around. They do know we may have another big fight coming very soon. Elements and Top coming around. Nocturne ult is down. A lot of the ults are down, but Elements out in front. Pobelter coming in from behind, and Elements and Reginald together fighting it out. Pobelter now in front. TSM, they're trying to get all they have to get focusing down. Pobelter, you will take him down. And Nijaki is next to fall. TSM taking that one. It's like, hey, we can win team fights too.
And the key there is they had the ward down, coverage down here. They knew that Nocturne, as he walked past that ward, he hadn't recalled. He went down for the Dragon, so he had no mana, no health. So they knew it was a 4v5 situation, and they knew if they pressure Baron, because they don't have a good means of initiation, they can force Curse to come over there, bait out the 4v5, and then very quickly use that tankiness to their advantage, knowing Curse just doesn't have enough damage to follow up on it. So really effective play there by TSM. Fantastic use of the map, and using that Baron to force that fight and take that advantage back.
Yeah, so right now, as we hit the midpoint of the game, it really becomes a lot about objectives. You have your Dragon, you have your Baron, you have the towers. At this point, it's just now both teams grouping up full 5, trying to see what they can make happen at these certain points. But now, Curse coming in with the pink ward in front of Baron. They're considering it. They're thinking about it. Nijaki and Pobelter are a little far behind, but ping's going down from TSM. They know they're in the neighborhood. They also have it warded as well. But Curse going to go ahead, fall back, and try and see if they can't assemble once again. You got a 3-man push in mid. TSM all 5 pretty close together. So if Curse gets a little bit out of position, it could end really badly for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. Positioning isn't really the biggest factor for Curse right now because they recognize that TSM it's going to be really tough for them to engage. So they don't really have a pick-off team when you have great ults for like Ashe, like Sona, that can just set up fights. Kennen, Maokai, any number of champions. They don't have those kind of abilities. They're all very short range. So Curse doesn't need to be as careful as TSM really does in these fights. Whereas TSM, they just need to be grouped effectively, protect Kog'Maw, have their tanky front line, and then as the game progresses, they'll just become a little bit too tanky for Curse to deal with. It'll be extremely difficult for Curse to get more kills, but Curse definitely, because they have that initiation advantage, they can pick, when the right fights are for them, and so they can just say, okay, hey, now we've got an advantage, we've got a 4v5, let's jump in there, take them down, combo Nocturne, combo Leona, pick up a kill with the Karth Assault.
Get the wall going down from Nijaki just to prevent that quick little rush from Reginald. But as you were talking about earlier, where was he when you were talking? He was in bot lane. He was away from the team. That was Curse's signal. They saw him there. It's like, hey, let's put some aggression up on mid. Let's force them to their tower. And then, once we get close vision Cax, we'll back off. But right now, Cop actually being engaged upon through the Baron wall. But Vlad ult was used. We got a little bit of damage on Reggie and Odd One. Reggie has no choice but the back off. He is way too low at this point. How much health does he have? About 400, but one or two skills. Actually, Karth Assault actually could have finished that.
Honestly, with how tanky Reginald is, the fact that they have Soraka, they almost could have stayed there and continued to pressure the fight because they know that Soraka is going to heal Reginald over time. Reginald, his Banshees was going to come back up shortly. It is a pretty short cooldown.
Yeah.
So knowing that, Cop was already out of the fight, he's not going to come in at low health. Reginald probably could have stuck around, but at the same time, they didn't want to risk it. They didn't want to go for that, kind of really aggressive play. They know that the late game is definitely in their advantage, as long as I don't know, we don't have any fancy fights from Curse. They're not able to pick anyone off. Have that great sustain from Vladimir. I mean, that is a lot of sustain damage.
Crumbs surfing around. We got wards again on both sides of the Baron pit. This is definitely the next objective both of these teams want to see what they can do with. But the wall going down. Odd One will be caught out in front. Has no choice but to be burned. The ult. Reginald being focused down by Crumbs. He does go zoom right for the back line. Exhaust going down on Poe Belter. It's got a cluster of damage here. Dyrus would be able to get away. I'm not sure, but Nijak is the first to fall. Goes out, and Requiem coming down. Will we be able to get anyone? No, we will not. Bike Special is very low.
Yeah, we did have Rise going down. Curse still in a position where they can win those fights. They have just enough damage to take them down. TSM not tanky enough. Chaos was able to stick around through that fight, so that definitely works out for them. But a one fight for Curse, they're a little bit too low where they can't really press that advantage. So the game will continue to stall a little bit. But I don't know. We'll see.
We got the flash in from Elements. The flash away.
The flash from Chaos, negating that just almost immediately. Perfect timing by Chaos.
That was close. That was way too close for comfort right there. But ult once again.
Oh, and he's
down.
Chasing him down. He's
going
to get the
kill. We may actually have it. Can we get it? No. Ultimate. One more mortar shot. Can we get it? No. Wow. So close. So very close.
Yeah, just barely not able to pick up that kill. Elements, good awareness. Juking down one way where he doesn't have vision. He has to throw out the blind ultimate, then coming back. So, really fantastic play there.
Those artillery shots from Kog'Maw are about 200 damage a shot. Those things, less than a second cooldown. If you get caught in that, if you're slowed, you're in a bad spot. You're in a really bad spot. But Phantom Dancer being built on cost, so he's definitely going for that speed build. Not so much on the damage department, but still, once again, wards going down. Baron is still top priority right now.
Yeah, and I'm honestly, as the game's progressing, I'm keep on talking about TSM's really strong late game, and I still think that's the case. But at the same time, we do have a lot of physical damage from TSM, and so, if we can see Curse getting some nice armor items. They already have the Aegis to avoid some of that damage. If they can keep their members alive, then they have fantastic sustain as well. So we'll see whether Curse can make that work for them. But I definitely think that Cog is something to be feared. Nocturne, it's going to be tough for him to shut down Cog as the game progresses.
Odd One once again going into the pit, clearing the ward, and Cop actually aggroes Baron, just takes a quick hit for himself. But I think TSM might be trying to bait something out here. Odd One's he's definitely out there trying, like I said, trying to clear all the wards. He's got the oracles, but it looks like also Reggie and Cax are still ahead. Reggie and Cax. Cax got himself a red buff, so that will be a huge help in the team fights to come. And we're at a little bit of a standstill here, right in the center of the map. All 10 players in this game very close together. Artillery shots going in from Kog'Maw, trying to get what he can, but it looks like Curse slowly moving on up to Baron, once again clearing all the wards they see. I think they're going to try and bait out TSM into a fight they don't want to be in. But they're actually retreating back. We got the Mundo ult being popped. Can we get a cleaver on someone? Who are we going to hit? Are we going to hit anybody? Focusing in, Nijaki being popped in the bush, but they will not pursue them. We got Odd1 still in front. Who are we going in on? Elements is actually caught out in front, but not a whole lot. But Vlad actually getting a lot of people in the ult. Hellbelter being focused on Crumbs, decides to go in on Chaos. Chaos ult still going down. Nightjackie in the middle of everyone. Elements out in front once again. Dyrus taking the brunt of the damage. Artillery shots, can we do something with that? No. Elements very low. This is a very dangerous moment right now. Reginald trying to see. He's running around to the side. Is this flash up? Yes, it is. Yes. Hellbelter pulls just in time, but Nightjackie is too far behind. We see Requiem. Are we going to get somebody? We got a lot of damage coming in. X Special, 250 health left.
And it all started with Nightjackie. We saw Mundo just powering through with the ultimate, able to force Nightjackie off to the side, so Curse wasn't in that full AoE setup that they want. They want Karthus to just be sitting there the whole time, and actually Crumbs is going to be walking right into Reginald, and he's going to drop him really quickly. There's the snare. He will have the shield.
One
more hit.
Oh, the artillery's coming in.
The kill over the wall. And there's a kill for TSM to go along with their Baron. They're able to keep it, and now with the Baron regen, it is going to be extremely difficult for Curse to deal with this team. We'll see, whether or not they can organize the fights that they want, but it's going to be hard. TSM moving down towards Dragon, definitely in a huge lead right now, even though Curse still has that gold advantage.
Nocturne wandering over, and you know what? Just ended up riding the lightning all the way back to spawn, but we have Baron buff now on TSM, taking Dragon, taking, once again, all the objectives they need. But can they do anything with the Baron buff? That's what we need to see. We see all these team fights going very well, just very big tug of war between both teams. They have an opportunity now to blast out in the lead immensely, but they only have a limited amount of time to do it. The Baron buff already 25% finished.
Yeah, and I mean, they have plenty of time, though, to push. They do have a very strong pushing team. Kog'Maw has such great range that, he can just sit up there at the tower and slowly wear the tower down. And then if Curse tries to engage on TSM, that's kind of what TSM wants. As long as they can keep KX alive, keep him in that back row, then, they can have the engage on all these tanky frontline champions. Because, hey, if TSM can force a fight like that, that's to their benefit. So we will see TSM pushing down this mid lane. Karthus can clear creep waves, Corki can clear creep waves, so they can, try and keep the wave from hitting the tower, which will help them stall a little bit. But I don't know, we'll have to see whether or not they can stall enough, or whether or not, TSM can just power through it.
So we see a lot of members of TSM are also getting pretty sufficiently tanky, and we see Dyrus working towards the Atlas, throwing up a frozen mallet. Odd1 out in front, actually got the engage on Crumbs, going in right on the Chaos. Chaos will melt immediately. Odd1 now has no choice but to run. True Damage is going to be doing a little bit. Elements caught out in back. Odd1 should be able to press him down, but we also got Reginald trying to run away, but he will not. And Odd1 still out there in front, but Curse, they've got their two for one, pretty good for them. They've got two members of TSM now. Baron buff gone.
And even with that Baron, I mean, Curse, TSM just should be too tanky as a team, but they're able to pick off members of, or Curse is able to pick off members of TSM. You saw them getting into Kog'Maw, and that's the big thing. If Curse can take down Kog'Maw, then the fight's theirs. There's just not enough damage output from TSM, but we'll have to see. Nocturne with a really aggressive ultimate, just really going for it, and then as a team able to pick up the kill without Nightjackie even ulting. They didn't even need to use the ult to get that. So we'll see these next fights. That Baron buff loss is definitely huge for TSM, though.
Yeah, the two of the biggest damage dealers on the team without the buff. It's gonna hurt their damage output quite a bit. I mean, granted, we still have the true damage on Dyrus. We still got a little something from Mundo being in the middle of all these fights, but still not as much as they need in order to take the lead that they need to finish this game out.
And so we are seeing TSM Dyrus making his way down bottom. Everyone just kind of wants to stall out now, farm up, let the game pressure a little bit longer. They, I think we're kind of surprised that they lost that last fight. They were kind of taken aback a little bit. So, they're comfortable with just sitting back some, continuing to farm, get Chaos, all of his final items, get everyone all of their tanking items. But Curse is actually just pushing down this mid lane, being extremely aggressive. So, I don't know. We'll have to see how this goes. Reginald very close. He does have his flash. I thought he almost might go in for Nightjackie there, try and pick him off, because there was definitely that potential. And Odd1 actually chasing him down now. He used his ultimate. He is going to get the cleave off, actually missing the cleave. There is Reginald coming up, and Vladimir and Nightjackie going down extremely quickly. Hellbelter dying, and TSM able to take that fight massively. Curse not in the best position there, completely out of position. Odd One going to take this mid tower as Chaos is dealing the damage, and now this is huge. This is probably going to be an inhibitor for TSM.
It's an inhibitor, and it could even potentially be game if TSM plays their cards right. We have a full 40 seconds before Pobelter and Nijeki rejoin the fight. The tower is already gone. The inhibitor could go down in just a few moments. They might be able to just flat out tank those towers and finish off this game. Dyrus, Odd One in front. All the damage they need to tank is right there. And Chaos and Reginald on the back line dealing damage.
And going down.
Immediately melted. Crumbs and Elements trying to keep them from going after the next of towers. Elements does fall. Crumbs has no choice but to retreat. All 5 members of TSM
GG.
going for the tower.
TSM gets it.
TSM taking the tower.
Curse.
Going for the Nexus, and TSM will go ahead and take the series 2-0. GG!
And I love the crowd noise. TSM congratulating them for their legendary teamwork, able to take the series 2-0. So, you know, Dyrus sitting there
he's got
waving
the
himself off.
He's
tired, you know. They're all tired from, you know, such an epic game. That's why you guys can't see it at home, but we have this, you know, really cool smoke machine here, and just in the middle of the game, it starts,
like Dreamland,
you know,
here.
puffing out just clouds in front of us because it recognized how epic the game was.